Hi friends, my name is Grace Hunziker. I'm the concert talent buyer and resident 20-year-old old lady at Club Down Under, and I'm here to teach you the basics of cross-stitching. Okay, so what you're gonna need, and these things will come in your kit, is you're gonna need your fabric, thread, needle, and a hoop, and then we will have the PDF file of this pattern posted on one of our social media sites, which I will put here, and a pair of scissors. Okay, so just to give you a little basic knowledge of cross-stitching, what we have here is called Ida fabric, and if you look really closely you can see that it's made into a grid pattern, which will correlate with the grid that you'll be reading as your pattern. So essentially one of these little tiny squares is going to make up one of these little itty bitty squares on the fabric. Okay, and so the next thing you're going to want to do is put the fabric in the hoop. So you're going to loosen the hoop a little bit, pull them apart, and then put the smaller circle behind. Try to get your fabric in the center of the hoop. If it's not perfectly in the center, that's fine. Then take the bigger hoop and slip it over the top. Might take a few tries. And then once you've got it in there, just tighten the screw to secure it in the hoop. Okay, and so next thing you're gonna do is you're going to cut a piece of floss about probably like 1.5 feet long. And then you want to thread your needle. Okay, so what you wanna do before you get stitching is you wanna anchor your thread. So we're going to tie a little knot at the end here. And then just for security, I'm going to tie one more on top of that one. Okay, well, maybe. Okay, so now you have an anchor for your thread. Okay, and so to get started stitching, what you need to know is that with cross-stitch patterns, you always want to start from the center of the pattern. So essentially most patterns are going to have these two arrows that point you to where the center of the pattern is. So these arrows are going to lead you right there. So we're going to make that our first stitch. We also want to start in the center of our fabric. It's okay if it's not perfectly center, but I'm just going to make a little estimate. I'm going to say probably right there. And then I'm gonna make just a little bit of a hole in the fabric so I can see where I'm gonna start my first stitch. Okay, and to start your first cross stitch, you're going to bring your needle through the back of that hole that you just made and pull through. And essentially a cross stitch is a stitch over a little tiny box. So if you look at your Ida fabric, you wanna go to the right corner of the box that you're about to make. So right here, over, and through, and then you're going to find the lower right corner of the box, which will be right about here. Pull up and through, and then you're going to move to the upper left side of the box and finish off that cross stitch just like this. Alright, I'm going to show you that one more time. So you're going to go through the bottom left corner of the new box that you're going to be making, upper right corner, pull through, lower right corner, pull through, and upper left corner, pull through. And that is 2 cross stitches. It's as easy as that. And basically what you're going to do is you're just going to keep doing this following the pattern. And little pro tip, you can stitch any direction that you want except for upwards, because if you stitch a stitch directly on top of one, it'll just undo itself. But you can just kind of stitch in whatever direction you want to fill out the rest of the pattern. So. And you might have to stop for a minute and just pull the fabric taut again. Sometimes you have to loosen the screw and then retighten it just to keep the fabric tight. Okay, so I just made the very first row of stitches. So this row right here is this row right here. So we're just gonna keep going according to the pattern. And another pro tip, just while we're hanging out here together, usually when you're looking at a more complicated cross stitch pattern, they will indicate the number of pieces of thread that you will use to stitch. So essentially when you look at your thread, it'll split up into 6 little tiny strings. And usually when you're stitching on this size of Ida cloth, you're going to use 2 strands of thread, but just for our sanity, we are going to just be using the whole thing, so all 6 strands of thread today. Something you want to watch out for is be careful to not stitch the tail into your piece. So if it's getting close to the fabric, just pull it a little bit to make that tail shorter. Okay, and if you're starting to run out of thread, just flip it over, tie a knot in the back. Trim the excess and get a new piece. Oh, and I almost forgot, the most important step is you cut a piece probably about 3 feet long for your roommate's cat to play with. Okay, and once you're done, it should look a little something like that. This took me probably about 20 minutes, so I'd say for a beginner it might take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. It's pretty time consuming, but you just gotta be patient. Other than that, be sure to follow CDU on all social media and keep an eye out for our future events. And thank you for tuning in. Bye!